What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I've got a couple of unplugged videos to finish up the week for you here. Lots of interesting topics, but I thought I would give the editors a few days off so that we can hit it hard again on Monday. Now, we don't know much, if anything at all, about Captain Marvel 2, but we do know that there is a general interest in dunking on not just Captain Marvel, but Brie Larson to maybe a lesser extent these days. You know, many people have magically forgot some of the things she said after seeing her dress on Kimmel. We'll put it that way. And look, people grow up. I'm not saying she owes the world an apology, but it was a pretty dumb thing to say. And Captain Marvel is a pretty dumb character, in my opinion. That said, for as often as I dunk on it, I think it's important to point out that there may be some kind of fake news about Captain Marvel 2 floating around. And I thought it's funny to read and laugh at, but it's also important to know that it's very likely, in my opinion, that this article is fake and this website is sus, to say the least. Now, many of you sent me an article that referred to the new writer of Captain Marvel as a, quote, uber feminist, never Trumper, and Islam activist. The article doesn't provide any evidence of that other than a singular tweet in which she wrote an article or shared an article about why Donald Trump shouldn't be president. So I think it's important that we can have a little bit of fun with the article, but I'm fairly certain it's fake. And look, I've got to be fair in my analysis. I don't want to take the bait. I don't want to fall for anything. So I think it's more important that I point out that this site, just like Now This, remember Now This, when I first started doing videos about Hollywood culture and things like that, I thought that they were a legitimate reporting source. Then over the months, I started to realize that it's just basically a clickbait factory. And probably seeing the popularity of dunking on Captain Marvel on YouTube, there now have been several sites and several articles that seem to pop up. So this article says, meet the writer of highly anticipated Captain Marvel 2 movie. And this was published yesterday. Many of you sent it to me. Sometimes movies are a reflection of writers' worldviews and opinions, and sometimes they aren't. Regardless, it's interesting to see who is behind the Captain Marvel sequel. Captain Marvel 2, albeit confused story progression, has been confirmed. Well, of course they're going to make another one. The first one made $1 billion, but I do think it's interesting to me that Marvel just isn't saying anything. You think that they would have talked about maybe some of release dates or, you know, some more information, but they just never did. They, you know, we see this article came out yesterday on the Radio Times. When will Captain Marvel 2 be released? Carol Danvers will be back in another adventure of her own, but don't expect it for a while. This by Sam Roots. According to 2019's Captain Marvel officially being developed by Marvel Studios, with Brie Larson keen to return as Carol Danvers. The previous film was significant for being the first female-led film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and went on to gross over $1 billion worldwide, so it's no surprise that there'll be another solo outing being planned for the Avenger. Sadly, we have no idea when the film's in development stage, seeing as Marvel Studios has only formally announced the release after 2021 Black Panther 2. It's not impossible that the sequel could start filming next year for a 2022 release, but that's a bit of a stretch, especially with all the other projects being developed, such as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and a reboot of Blade. Ugh, Blade did not need to be rebooted. One thing we do know is it will be set after the first Captain Marvel. However, what's still being decided is whether it will take place before or after her second appearance in Avengers Endgame. There's a good chance that it'll delve into a world of the villainous Kree and the history with Carol Danvers, claiming they'll be back for her. Larson has expressed interest in the sequel, introducing Ms. Marvel, who's been building a huge fan base, that's a lie, in the comic book reading world. Are you joking? The latest Comic-Con numbers just came out, and Kamala Khan is not even close to what I would call popular. Hence the character getting her own series on Disney Plus. That's manufactured popularity. Fake it till you make it, so to speak. It might seem obvious to make a film that truly integrates Danvers into the established contemporary setting most others already occupy, but it's also been suggested that Captain Marvel 2 could be set before Avengers Endgame, whether it directly leads into the events of the crossover or could once again take place in the 90s. So we don't really know anything about this. In fact, no writer has been announced as far as I could tell. Nonetheless, it goes on. Most importantly, an avid comic book reader, massive nerd, and passionate geek. She may not be a seasoned screenwriter, but what she lacks in experience, she makes up for in passion. Quote, Kelly is a champion for women's rights. She embodies Captain Marvel, an acquaintance of the writer told us. Kelly Sue was a prominent figurehead in GG and less heard of Comicsgate movement, who worked tirelessly alongside of Anita Sarkeesian to eradicate toxic masculinity from male-dominated video game and comic book culture. This article is definitely bait. Then you could say, then they showed the Heather Antos thing that talked about Comicsgate, and you can just look at the comment section down here. You know, not sure how you rationalize uber feminist and this, but no doubt be interesting discussion on how you arrive at those two labels together. You know, where, you know, this article is all kinds of misinformed. No writer currently attached to Captain Marvel 2. Kelly Sue writes for comics and has written Captain Marvel comics. She served as a consultant on the first film, and only so far as has a based on characters by credit in the second. I don't think that you're going to take somebody who's just never written a movie before and make them a writer. Now, as my phone makes a ill-timed tone, as I bet a bunch of you are reaching down and checking your phones right now, then we saw, you know, when we look at Sausage Roll, their website, they call themselves Australia's fastest growing pop culture press. I don't think that that's necessarily true. They have a whopping 200 followers, and they have no interaction. I mean, endless tweets 16 hours ago, not one like, not one retweet. Here's one for 21 hours, got a little bit of traction by using the Alita sequel type story. Much of this, again, January 8th, not a single like or retweet. I don't think that you are the fastest growing anything right now. And I think it's important that you really understand that, you know, nerd culture, even if you appear to be on the right side here, we're keenly aware of this. And especially YouTubers, you know, I don't want to cover something that's a fake news. And then they put out a tweet again several hours ago with, I don't know, one reply finally. We have been called out for listing Kelly Sue as the screenwriter for Captain Marvel, but she's now been officially listed as a writer on IMDb. By the way, anyone can edit IMDb from what I can tell, and that wasn't there at the start of this article. Then you see Be Positive saying, so is Stan Lee, and next time say that your source, so is Stan Lee. And next time say that your source is IMDb so people know what it's not a scoop, when it's not a scoop. When you see Captain Marvel 2, you can see some things here. I mean, you have, you know, Brie Larson listed here. You know, as fun as it would be to meme on this article and to joke about it, I don't think that Kelly Sue, by the way, she looks exactly like you would expect, by the way. I don't believe that she's a writer on this film. I don't believe that this article has any evidence of that. And I think, you know, it's funny. You see Lauren, she literally seems like she came out of a random social justice activist and character generator. I mean, she does. They choose all the right buzzwords in this article, but this is just bait. It's absolutely hilarious. It's fun to meme on, but I don't think that we see any evidence here that this is true. And, you know, as fun as it is for me to dunk on Captain Marvel, as fun as it is for me to dunk on social justice-minded people, I think it's important that we also point out fakeness. And what I see here is someone looking to profit on the popularity of such without really understanding that, hey, I may be critical of Captain Marvel 2, Captain Marvel and that, but I also know when somebody is actually interested in it. And you can't have as many videos as I do about Captain Marvel and not know what's going on with the movie. So, funny, but definitely not news. I'm definitely going to put Sausage Roll on one of those websites along with Now This, where it's just made up stuff, used anonymous sources to justify lying. So I eagerly anticipate real news on Captain Marvel 2's release, because I'm sure it'll be a cringe fest. But for now, we just wait. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.